Hey everyone, welcome to the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. I'm Coach Loretta and I'm here with Coach Lindsay, and today our special go, guest, Coach Wendy. And super excited to be here with all of you. First of all, I want to do a shout out to Lindsay. She just ran a marathon in Hawaii and she had a PR for that course over a minute. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really beautiful. It's hard to like even run there because you just want to look at everything. But yeah, first in the age group, so I'll take that, and then a course PR for me. So it was so much fun
Nice.
in Maui. Yeah,
It sounds like the weather was favorable.
yeah, it's warm and humid, but not anything that is like crazy. It's probably like 70s and high humidity, but yeah, just gorgeous.
Well, that's great. Well, it's
Yeah.
not that here. It's cold and snowy and miserable.
It's
Yeah.
30 below here, Lindsay.
Oh
Oh
my
my
goodness.
gosh. Oh my
Where are
gosh.
you at, Wendy? Where are
30
you?
below.
I
Dang.
am in northern Minnesota, you guys,
Oh.
and it has been brutal high winds with just tons of drifting. I think we have more snow than Canada officially right now.
Oh my
So it
gosh.
is just crazy.
That's insane. Well, today's show, we're going to talk about running with dogs, which is super exciting. If you haven't checked out Wendy's Instagram post, she runs with her how do you say it? Say it, Vizslas?
Everyone says it a little different
Yeah.
depending on where they're from.
Yeah.
Vizslas, everything from the full name of Hungarian Vizslas to just a Wisla. So yes,
Okay.
any little accent, completely understand.
Well, that makes me feel good because I always struggle with it every time I go to say it. So if you haven't been on Wendy's Instagram, she has a page for them. What's the name of the page?
Yeah, so their page dedicated to them is Indie Coda, and mine is Wendy Runs Free, and often you'll see them on both. I mean, I feature them a lot on my own personal stories and my own posts.
That's awesome.
Love
So, and
it.
also, our dog Zuki will be 1 year old February 2nd, so coming up soon. And I also am hoping that Zuki will love to run as much as they do. She's been running with me for a while now, just little tiny short runs because she's, just a puppy still, but super excited about that. But so many things to talk about with this cold. And, we had to get some boots for Zuki because her feet were getting so cold out there. And she's a golden doodle, so her paws really hold the ice. So the
Yeah,
ice and snow, they ball up into her paws and we have to pick them out or like whisk them off of her arms. So we got her boots.
so cute.
So many things that we're going to talk about today with all things dogs. And I know Lindsay also runs
I
with
love it.
dogs.
I do. Yeah, I had my dog who passed a couple years ago that I would run with, but I also dog sit two mini golden doodles, and those things can literally run 20 miles no problem on the trails. It's incredible. So, all things
Yay.
dog and running, we are so much of a fan of here.
Oh, that's awesome. And Lindsay got to meet our Zuki when we went to Tall
Yeah,
Hill. She was there cheering people on.
so cute.
She was people's emotional support dog alongside the trail. They would be running like 100 and say, "Can I just stop and pet your dog?"
Like, yes, love
So,
it.
so yeah, yeah. So welcome, Wendy. Thanks for joining us today. Wendy also coaches with our team from Ornery Mule Coaching. So lots of wisdom here in this little room today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned the booties. I love to just like highlight that for a minute because we now for the last 2 years have had very mild winters, so we haven't needed booties.
Mhm.
Our girls have been just fine, and the reason why is because when they stay moving, they stay warm.
Mhm.
Right.
But we just haven't had like the salt and the amount of ice and snow on our roads or our trails like we've had in previous years or what we're known for like this
Yeah.
Right.
winter. And so they've been really great and not having any issues until this winter. We had a very early winter and we've had lots of snow and lots of sub-zero days. And those sub-zero days get to be so challenging because like you were mentioning, Loretta, the ice just gets right balled up underneath their paws and it almost
Hmm.
freezes them up. And so they really just have a hard time going if they
Yeah.
stop even just for a quick potty. And
Yeah.
so we found some amazing booties. I'm sure you'll have to share what you found for
Nice.
your Zuki as well, Loretta, but we love the nonstop dog wear booties. They
Okay.
Oh,
have two sets of Velcro up the leg. So it's like a sock And
Hmm.
then the actual booty is almost like a rubber. So it's got a little bit more of a protector from the cold, but also from like the sharp ice
Yeah,
corners. And it's just been game changer for us this season in
Oh, that's awesome.
outdoor sub-zero temps and just running out there.
Yeah,
very
we
cool.
we we went with the Canadian pooch, and they're long, so they go up her legs. We need to get them up her legs because that fur or hair, just gets so
Mhm.
bad on a doodle. And these have kind of like little suspenders, so it keeps them in place.
So
But we do have a video. I have a video. She also has her own Instagram page. It's Ultra Crazy Pups on the Run, and we have a video of her in her first few steps of them because that was pretty funny. Once they adjust, it's fine, but in the beginning, like she wouldn't move. It was like she was
yeah,
frozen, and then she started taking little tiny t steps, across the house.
so cute. Yeah, I want to hear kind of about like your intrigue. Like if somebody is wanting to run with their dog, but they don't know how to do it safely, when is a good time to start? How do you start? How do you even know if your dog wants to run or can run? Like there's so many different things. Some dogs are better than others at running. What's kind of like your whole journey with it?
Oh my gosh, yes. Hopefully, I won't dominate the entire time with you guys
Oh, we
today
want
talking
to,
about
yeah.
this because I could go into so many tangents. But
Mhm.
as we all are probably a little bit familiar with, every breed has its own, demeanor and personality. So, of course, I'm not going to recommend going and getting a bulldog, English bulldog and saying, go run
Mhm.
with it. They're just not made, physically to endure that sort of activity. So I think first of all, really what got me into it is just understanding the variations between breeds and how each of those can even have their own personalities. And so it's really, when I first got started, I was a little bit nervous and anxious to know whether I ended up with the right breed and the right dog, and to your point, if they were going to enjoy the running aspect.
Yeah.
So I back in the day started with just rescue dogs. I had two rescue mutts, if you will. One was a lab rot mix and one was a pit bull mix, and they both ran with me to start.
Mhm.
And they were both, of course, breeds that didn't love long distance.
Hmm.
So, really just understanding what the breed's capabilities are and what they're naturally good at
Hmm.
really helped me get a start on, okay, I can't expect either of those to go out with me and
Yeah.
endure 10-mile runs.
Yeah.
Maybe let's start with a mile and then let's slowly progress. And so just like humans, I feel like there's so much value in just learning each day as you show up and seeing how their personalities really shine that day. And if you really listen to your dogs as much as you even are supposed to listen to yourself as a runner, right? Just leaning into that. Some days they're going to be ready and rearing to go, and they'll have the endurance and capacity to go longer. And other days you just have to recognize maybe today is not the day to do that. And
Right.
so just like being flexible with your own training and adjust that and really paying attention to the dogs. So I've always loved dogs. I've always had this like inner spirit of if I could, do anything in the world, I'd probably raise dogs and have like 100 of them.
Yeah.
But so long story short, those two passed years ago, and I was on a endeavor to align dogs to my lifestyle. And that really became, okay, I'm an endurance runner. I love training out in the woods by myself. How can I find a breed that's going to align to that? And I did a ton of research over probably a
Hmm.
2-year time frame, and it always brought me back to a couple breeds that are really well known in just endurance
Yeah.
and stamina. And the Hungarian Vizsla, alongside of a Weimaraner and a German short hair pointer, were kind of the top three breeds that
Yeah.
I kept coming back to.
Yeah.
So
I
I
love
ended up with those Vizslas, and honestly, through a screening process, I couldn't be more grateful and thankful that we did end up going through a breeder. I'm still all pro, like rescue, all you can do, but for our lifestyle and place and space where we were at, I felt like going with a breeder that really understood the breed and knew what I was looking for could align what kind of personality, I needed to be able to endure that, right? So just
Right.
like a family who has kids, every kid's gonna have a different personality. You might have an outgoing one, you might have an introvert. Puppies are the same. Like
Mhm.
a litter of puppies can give you everything from an outgoing puppy to a very like reserved, shy puppy. So we heavily on and relied on our breeder's family to really guide us to the kind of the best
Perfect.
puppy.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I've always loved the Vizsla breed, just because of the running aspect, and they're so long and just graceful. But I had a rescue who was half German short hair pointer and half pit, so it was a hilarious mix because she wanted to run forever, but her like little stocky self really. So, but I was able to do like 6 mile runs with her, and that was like the sweet spot. But those breeds are just so incredible. Like they can just go, it's really cool to see. I love the Vizsla breed.
Yeah, and it's funny because my first dog, who is like my first true love of running,
Hmm.
she was the Rottweiler Black Lab
Hmm.
mix. And to your point, she looked Black Lab. She had more of
Yeah.
the characteristics and personality of a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
And so they just don't love running, but she
Yeah.
was such a people pleaser to me that she
Yeah.
wanted to do everything she could to like run with me as far as
Oh,
she could.
I love
But
that.
she was about like what you're saying yours was. She would get
Yeah.
to about that 6 mile mark, and then she would just like drag her
Oh yeah. Lay
feet because
down.
she'd be so tired, and she'd wear her nails down. We never had to
Yes,
worry
mine
about
would.
clipping
Yeah.
her nails because she'd
Yeah.
just drag them
Jerks.
along.
Yeah, mine would
And
do that.
finally, I was like, okay, we gotta like maybe cut the mileage because this is not
Yeah.
looking good. Now
Yeah.
I wish my Vizslas were kind of like that because they hate me clipping their nails. And the only time I can get attached to their nails and get any sort of clipping done is usually when I'm going for a run and getting their booties on.
Right.
They're so focused on wanting to go for that run and so excited
I
that I've
love
had to be cautious about like getting over there and trying to snip, snip, snip real quick, you know?
Yeah, because it's kind of like humans, obviously. We can't run with like these crazy long toenails. But
Oh,
Hmm.
that's
every time
great.
I run with a dog, I'm like, I always say to myself, I wish that we could all look at our workouts and running like they look at a run. Like they are always so pumped. Like,
Yeah, so that's the funny thing is with Vizslas, there's no days off. So even on my rest days, often people are like, "Well, how many rest days do you take?" Well, in theory, I take 1 day off a week typically, but with Vizslas, there's no run days
yeah,
off. So I mean, I might do more walking, hiking, and they do just laps,
yeah.
laps. I mean, they'll just keep going and going to get their energy out, but there's really no days off with a Vizsla.
Well, before we got Zuki, we had a Yorkie for 16 years, and she wasn't much of a runner. I mean, she was a runner at heart, but
Yeah.
she was like 4 pounds. And so she could make a good about 2 miles with me, and she really wanted to run. Once when she was older, we took her on a ride. Like I was running, Derek was biking, and we got in a little kid stroller to take her
Oh,
along. But she
best.
was just like, I want to run. I want to run. You could just tell. And so we finally
Oh,
let her out and she ran a 7:30 mile with me. I mean, like she just took off. Like I've been waiting for this my whole life. But she's not much of a runner. So I dreamed of a runner for a really long time. And that's kind of where we came up with Zuki. Same thing. I sort of did a lot of research, but I wanted a dog that was more hypoallergenic. It didn't really have a lot of shedding. And that's why we went with a golden doodle and also had, done some research that they could go at least a marathon distance. Like Lindsay said, she's done some
mhm.
20-mile runs. And so that was my hope. But, just like you said, even when you have your own children, you don't know what their love is going to be,
Right.
and you bring home this little teeny tiny puppy and like, I hope you want to run with me someday. And luckily she does love running. And I've had some since we got her, I've had a lot of trouble with different little niggles that I've been dealing with, and finally, I hope overcoming them. So it's been like kind of perfect timing as she's getting a little older that I've been able to run with her more. So we've been doing at least a mile every day with her. And so my husband had been the one that had been taking her out a lot on the trails. And then I started to. And so he took her out yesterday. He's like, oh my gosh, she wants to run fast. I'm like, yeah, she's gotten like fast now. Like you're too slow for her. She wants to go fast.
I love it
So
so
yeah,
much.
and my daughter had taught her once that when we got close to home, kick it, because that's what my daughter always did to me when she was younger. She might not be able to hang with me for the whole way, but she could always beat me on the sprint
Yeah.
finish, and so she loved that. And so Now, Zuki, if I say kick it, man, she's down to 5 minute pace in a second. Like we're going.
I love it.
Yeah, it's funny too. I mean, going back to part of your question there, Lindsay, was just, how do you get started? I think it's
Yeah.
always, there's so much mixed data and information out there. I've heard everyone waiting till like a year to 2 years actually running, like consistently running with their dogs. And I think you just have to navigate truly understanding the breed and your
Yeah.
capabilities. And then just help support that with, your local veterinarian or if you get it from a breeder, understanding from a breeder who, in my opinion, knows those breeds very well and can really help guide you in understanding and
Yeah.
hopefully does know the research on the other end of it to say, okay, yeah, well, they might be bred for XYZ specifically. They could still be really good at these things. And here's
Right.
maybe a cautious way of doing that. Our two girls, and I say two, so I'll back up a little bit of a tangent. We were only going to get one Vizsla, and we ended up with two. So, they are very different personalities. Now, had we gone with just the first initial pick, we would have been absolutely ecstatic and pleased. If we had only ended up with the second one, we might have actually been, me personally, slightly disappointed because she's not as driven and
Mm,
not as focused on that run as our other one. And
right.
so Indy is why we call her Indy. She's our Indy 500. She loves and loves and loves to run. She is very motivated to run. And Coda is our other one who is maybe not as motivated to run. And
Hmm.
so sometimes, occasionally, I have to recognize that and drop her off on a run and then continue on with Indy.
Oh,
And that's okay. But those are the things that, just personality wise, and they both started out running from the day we brought them home at like 9 weeks.
yeah.
And people go, "Oh my gosh, you started them running." But literally, it was puppy runs. It
Yeah.
was embracing that puppy. It was embracing that like time in their life where they want to sniff everything and they
Yeah.
want to like get distracted. And anyway, we would go maybe a quarter of a mile and then back. And so, you think, oh, that's not very far, but for a little 9-week-old puppy, that was plenty. And it
Yeah.
really got them used to that rhythm of mom getting ready. We're going to go for the run. They kind of knew what was to come, and it got them more and more excited for it
Yeah.
too.
I love
So it was really kind of a cool kind of progression that we worked on. I know I shared with you, Loretta, the fun log we kept for the
Right.
first year that they ran. And just like a human, we just kind of built.
That's
We
so
just
cool.
slowly integrated, mileage. And there were some weeks where we had to recognize, oh, you know what? It's too hot. The elements are too much. I need to like stop more for water breaks
Right.
or, pauses. So it kind of felt more like an interval workout than just running. But that was okay. I think there was value and beauty in it for both them and
Right.
myself too.
Right.
I
What
had
I
a
also learned
oh,
is
go
I feel like you have to kind of, each breed is a little bit different. So
ahead.
with Zuki, we also started running when she was pretty little, we call them doodle intervals. It was just like she wants to run, I'm gonna run with her. When she stops, I'm gonna stop. And she'd stop and she'd lay down, and and then we'd go again. And then I have a friend that has a Visla, and she's like, the problem with hers is that like she would not stop just because she was tired. She would just
Yeah.
keep going until exhaustion.
Yeah.
Where with Zuki, she didn't do that. So she listened to her body,
Yeah.
and so she would just stop. So I think
That's
like looking at the
self-aware.
breed is really important because some are going to run themselves to exhaustion, and some
Yeah.
are going to not, right? And so I think that makes a difference too. And the same for with us. We checked with our vet. Our vet had told us like around 5 months that we could start doing like a mile with her, but it was never a forced mile, right? As she's been a puppy, when she's wanted to stop, we stop, or I just kind of follow her lead, and I think that that's huge. One of the things our vet has recommended is at a year to have her hips checked, and I think it's because of her breed, just to make sure everything is good. And then Wendy and I have talked a little bit about it too, about nutrition. Just like us as runners, we need to make sure we're getting in enough protein, to be able to support our muscle repair and build.
Right.
So, we've chosen a higher protein diet for her. But yeah, so
I love it. On that note, just thinking about it, I had a bunch of border collies growing up. We lived on a bunch of land, and this one particular Bingo, he was the male. He would run, do the circles around all of his kids, nip, nip, nip. But he would run until he was dead. Like he would like just you could not get him to stop. And like he of course tore an ACL. The vet's like, we don't repair ACLs on border collies. They're gonna do it again. Like, but he lived a long, healthy life. He'd limp around for a day or two and then he'd be back at it. Like, but it's so funny just understanding the dog breed and kind of what they're capable of and all of that. But I had a question about so you live in northern Minnesota. Um, do you feel like having the two dogs with you is a safety thing? Like, what are the animals you kind of come in contact with? Like, how do you feel about it? Like, what do you have to watch for?
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Because we are surrounded by a ton of wildlife. I mean,
Hmm.
everything from wild turkey to deer, harmless, right? All the way to wolves, bear, coyotes,
Yeah.
and bobcats, badgers, you name it. I've come across it. And people are like, but why would you be out there? Well, I do run with mace, I do run with safety equipment. I'm very aware of
Hmm.
my routes and surroundings. And to that point, I just don't live in fear when it comes to wildlife. I feel like
Yeah.
we can coexist. But my two girls are very much aware and alert.
Yeah.
One, Coda, she's what we call our protector.
Hmm.
So she is definitely the one that alerts us to just about anything and everything whenever we're outdoors or whenever we're in the woods. And she is like our on guard. She is always like standing ready, growling. She will bark. We've come across Bear a few times,
Woo.
and she is always, stood firm and big and tall, little
Yeah.
32 pound Vizsla, right? Can only look so big. But her bark and her growl seems much bigger for her than you would think. And I've never felt concerned to that point. I think again, it's education for yourself as a human, just knowing how to react and
Right.
then what to do, but then how to also respond with your dogs
Hmm.
because I do run with them on leash
Hmm.
100%. Now, not everyone can, do that, and not everyone agrees with that, and that's okay. But where I'm at, located, I just don't feel safe to this point. They're still young enough. They still
Hmm.
have, I would say, not 100% recall.
Yeah.
So I don't ever want to take those chances to put them in danger's way or myself. So we're really extra cautious. We do
Hmm.
take a lot of measures to make sure we know and have a plan, if you will, to know like if we do cross with something, okay, what's our exit plan or how are we gonna navigate and adjust?
Right.
So yeah, that's been and I would say it doesn't happen often, right? I
Yeah.
think we're loud enough coming through the woods or, through places where we do run. Usually the wildlife spots us and then takes off the other
Yeah.
direction
Right.
more than they actually confront us at all.
Yeah.
So if anything, I feel like we're in the positive and the wildlife are probably feeling more scared of us.
Definitely. And
That's
I was wanting to know, like out here, there's like, I don't even know, I'm sure it works on a certain level, but the doodles that I dog sit and run with, they have been through rattlesnake training, and a lot of people do that out here. And we have come across snakes and they've left them alone. So is there anything out there that you guys do as like a precaution, or do you just completely rely on instinct for them?
Mainly instinct.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's not really a lot of any specific training that I've personally done with my girls.
Yeah.
But just being out there. So I
Yes.
think getting them used to just a lot of various trails, terrain, and paths
Hmm.
definitely breaks it up. I mean, they know their familiar routes,
Yeah.
but they also react and act completely different when they're in new territory and new terrain. And I think as a runner, you have to know how your dog is going to react
Yeah.
if you're going to go to somewhere new and try, a new place and you're maybe a little more unfamiliar with what kind of wildlife could present itself.
Hmm.
So we try to adventure as much as we can. I think it's exposure, right? Socializing your dog is the thing, even out in nature. You want to
Yeah.
socialize them to different environments. So if it's really remote trails, really traffic trails, because I mean, they react differently to wildlife than they do humans.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it's just important to know that you should want to get them into different, you know, if you have to be in the city streets and or city sidewalks running, you're going to come into a lot of humans. But
Yeah.
if you go out to the trails in the woods for the first time, they're going to react probably very differently. So I think just
Yeah.
getting some experience knowing and being aware of that is really important.
I think
Yeah.
for us, traveling in the van was a big experience for Zuki. When we took about 5 weeks and went out west, and she was around 5 months old, so she was pretty little, and so everything was a pretty big new experience for her. And I remember we were in Colorado and we were going on this trail, and when we first got to it, there was a river crossing, and she was just like, I'm not touching that water," like we tried. My daughter kept trying to coax her across, ended up carrying her across. But then, as we finally got farther into the trail, she just a little bit more exposure, a little more exposure. Next thing you know, she's splashing through the water, jumping in the river, thinking it's great.
Yeah.
And so it was just having that opportunity, I think, and giving her a little bit of minute to acclimate. And
Mhm.
then she was fine with it. But I also thought about that when I was out on those trail, some of the trails when we were out west, there were mountain lions out there. There were snakes, and I was a little worried for her. She was just a puppy, and I didn't know how she would respond if she saw a snake, or because she loved to grab the really pokey pine cones that were out
Yeah.
there, 'cause they were much pokier than the ones here. Because here, she would grab them and could keep them in her mouth. Those were really pokey. I'm like, you can't touch those. So, but I was a little nervous. And then looking back, I did a lot of trails with her, thinking I was making noise in the woods on the trails, and that maybe it would be a little bit safer. But looking back, probably if there had been a mountain lion, it could have been a little bit risky with a little puppy
Yeah.
like that. Could have scooped her
Yeah.
up, but
She survived.
yeah. But I also Zuki's BFF, or she calls her BFF, is a Vizsla. Her name is Clementine. I'm not
Oh.
sure if Clementine reciprocates the BFF, but we do hikes and stuff together, and the Vizsla is so much of a hunter. Zuki's kind of a good mate for her because Zuki keeps her going, because her family will say on the trails she'll just be so into sniffing everything that they can't keep her moving because she's so
Yeah.
slow, because she's got to hunt everything. But
So
with
cute.
Zuki, they keep moving along. So I think that has been kind of interesting too.
I love it. Oh, I wanted to also ask about just when Loretta was talking, I was thinking of like the natural predators around here. We have mountain lions, but it's mostly coyotes. And I'm always so like intrigued because they're from the same family essentially, but how like they react completely different to coyotes than they would like, another dog. But have you come across wolves and it's just kind of the same thing? Do they know that they're a predator? Obviously, they're massive, but
Yeah, they have reacted about the same. It does not
yeah.
matter whether it's bear, coyote, or,
Yeah.
and I think part of it is because now they're 2 years old. And so
Yeah.
they've been with me out on trails and out on our routes for 2 years. So like I said, they're pretty familiar. So
Yeah.
when something is new or different and presents itself, they get very protective of me and
Yeah.
they really stand guard, like,
Love that.
okay, what are we gonna do? And
Yeah.
so they really do feed into me and how
Yeah.
I respond too. I've really tuned into that more and more as they've aged. I can see
Hmm.
how they respond. If I'm like fearful of something, they
Hmm.
respond differently than if I'm like, ooh, that. And so, using command words in our own language, we have
Yeah.
our own set of kind of words we use for run and what they all mean. So
Yeah.
y- usually if I'm like, whoa, they're like, okay, what's going
Yeah. What's
on?
that?
Usually
Yeah.
a whoa is like, we need to halt, be on guard, stop, slow down. And
Yeah.
so anytime they hear that, it's like an immediate response, like they're on the lookout. They're wondering what mom's woeing at.
Yeah. What's
So
going on? Awesome. And then I have been following you, of course, since you've joined Ornery Mule, and I love watching the dogs. And I wanted to know, do you plan on racing with them? Do you race with them? A lot of races out here are starting to allow dogs, but LA is such like a permitted city that like if it's a normal race, they usually don't allow dogs, like just insurance purposes and whatever. But we're starting to see like a lot of dog specific races. So are you doing like the Canny Cross or anything like that or have any plans for it?
yeah, great question. There are some local Canicross races that are a little
Mhm.
bit further from me, but are in Midwest, and they're smaller races. I have
Mhm.
not yet officially jumped into one. I had aspirations and goals to do that.
Yeah.
ended up with an injury last year that kind of thwarted my whole year's plans. But on that note, I still do aspire to getting them actually into a true Canicross dog race.
Yeah.
Now, they have officially raced two official 5Ks with me,
Ooh,
though. One
fun.
was on roads and one was on trail. We actually, the road one was the 4th of July one. It was a black flagged event essentially, but there was 1,000 runners that still showed up, so it still went on. It was 95 degrees with like 92%
Wow.
humidity. That was a huge lesson learned for us. So we got about halfway through the race and we were going way too hot and fast.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see what they were going to do. And I
Yeah.
just let them go with it and just lead me. And by mile two with the heat, it
Mm.
got to them. And we ended up with a 6-minute detour on the side of the road to cool down
Yeah.
before we could carry on. And then I was just thinking, oh my gosh, we're only like, half mile from the finish. We've just got a little bit further to go. I literally was like farmers carrying them and I had one on my neck and I was like, we got to just get to the finish line, girls. We didn't have any fluids left at that point. There was no aid station or water near us. So we kind of lesson learned. I was like, I knew my girls ran hot in hot weather and I should have
Yeah.
had more fluids with me for even just a short race.
Yeah.
But we finally made it. We made
Yay.
it like, yeah, we were, I think, top third of the 1,000 runners. So we
That's
did
so
pretty,
cool.
pretty remarkable, just under 30 minutes for the 5K. It was
Nice.
Awesome.
probably my slowest 5K, but it was all worth it because
Hmm.
frankly, with that high heat, I just didn't know how they were going to respond.
Hmm.
And then our next one was a trail race this last fall, and that was super fun and exciting because it was just right in their element. They love the trails.
Yeah.
And with the excitement and energy of everyone at the start line, I wasn't sure how they were going to handle actually running with me and leading me like they would normally. And they, like pros, literally just saw it as we are off and steady and going. And I 5K PR'd at that one.
Oh, wow.
And so we PR'd together. It was
That's incredible.
incredible. We placed first female. I think I was second overall. It was
Amazing.
so awesome. And they loved it and did so good and so much better. We learned from our 5K 4th of July to pace better.
Yeah.
And so we did not have any stops and we did not have any, issues with the temperature and the weather. But yeah, it is my goal to hopefully get them to maybe a Canicross eventually. Though I think we love just the lifestyle of just
Yeah.
running. So if it doesn't ever actually happen in the near future, I'm not going to be
Yeah.
too disappointed because they get to do all the training miles with me. And that
Yeah.
in itself is so many miles and they love it. So yeah, I mean, and some people, do that professionally or officially, and it is hard to find races that'll just allow dogs or that will welcome them. So you have to be very strategic, and I feel like that's a whole nother layer to my
Yeah.
training in life. I'm maybe not quite at. I enjoy just the endurance so much that I'm like, well, if they don't allow dogs, we're not going to force it right now.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Zuki and I ran her first 1 mile run race this summer as well. And
Love
I
it.
expected, again, she went with her friend Clementine, and I assured Clementine's mom we would be walking because she's not as much of a runner. But we ran. I mean, Zuki loved it. We did have to have a couple potty breaks along the way, but I think she was just under 11 minutes, which I was really surprised. I thought we'd be out there for like 20 minutes or something, but no, she did great, and that was so much fun. But I do coach an athlete that does some canocross, not a lot, but she has done it, and man, she also. I didn't even know she had that leg speed until she ran a race. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so fast. And it was just that dog, pulling her that
Yeah.
whole run. She ran probably a minute or so faster than I'd ever seen her run a mile. Like it was crazy. And then I have a lot of people that have dogs that I coach, but one of my athletes that I coach is on a run streak with his dog, Miles. And Miles also calls me coach because I'm also his coach. But so he does at least a mile a day and he has his own Strava. And do your
Fun.
dogs have their own Strava?
I don't have their own Strava, and to be honest, I'm not very good at using my own
Same,
Strava.
same here.
Yeah, to
So
keep up
I
with the dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just go with the good old hard calendar, magnets on the fridge, just write
Yeah.
every day what they do. And I just tally up week by week and kind of see, the load, deload, and just make sure based on weather and conditions that I'm not forcing them and that they feel like, there's some days where I'm like, oh, yeah, we're going to cut this short. I know that this week has been really challenging for us with mileage outside. And even with all the booties, the winter jackets, the gear, I know that Coda, she's more sensitive to the all the conditions.
Yeah.
And so whether it be heat or cold, she is definitely the dog and has a personality where she will lay down. She will let you know when she is done.
Yeah.
And I've had to farmers carry her and I've had to firemen carry her a few times in the summer just to like give her the reprieve. And
Yeah.
luckily she's small enough and I can handle her. But yeah, that she will go maybe 3 to 4 miles on a really, really cold, blustery day and call
Yeah.
it good. And,
Mhm.
any other day, yeah, they can go up to like 20 or more. It's just
Right.
not
Amazing.
a problem for
So a
them.
couple questions from some of the things you said. Hydration, fueling. What do you do during those longer runs for them?
Yeah, so I always carry extra flask of water dedicated just to them.
Okay. And how do you
Hmm.
give it to them? Are they taking it out of the flask or in your hand or?
They take it out of the flask. I just
Okay.
undo
Just
the
pour it in.
flask and they
Okay.
just drink right from the
Hmm.
Okay.
flask. Yeah, they have no problem with just that smaller opening and basically like a drinking like a toddler almost. I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
they don't
Right.
have any problem. And actually Coda is the one that'll always tell me when she's thirsty. She will literally look back at me as we're running and almost slow down and I'll say water and she will literally stop and then wait for me to get the flask and open it and just lap the water. I
She's
mean, so
fun. I like her.
she is very, very good at letting me know what she needs when she needs it. And I've gotten to be really good about tuning into her because
Yeah.
she's like my pulse, I feel like, where Indy is that breed and the one that would just keep going till she would probably
Yeah.
be dead. And
Mhm.
so she's maybe
Yes.
not a good indicator to me
What
that,
she needs.
yeah, that I could be pushing her too much and not recognizing that.
Yeah.
So I am very cognizant of Coda. And then we do make sure our routes are always within lakes, streams, rivers, and spots at
Mhm.
certain mile points so that if I do run out of water, I can refill or they can
Yeah.
kind of walk into the water and cool down,
Yeah.
which has been very helpful in summer runs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like they need any kind of fuel like humans or electrolytes like humans on runs?
Yeah, not during the runs,
Okay.
no. So we have them on a pretty routine schedule, morning, afternoon, evening feeding regimen.
Mm.
And going back to kind of the nutrition, we tried it all. We did like top line kibble to start off with. We did cooked meat mixed with kibble for a while. We then eventually, with a lot of research, trial and error, and because of just the mileage and the calorie output that they were putting out there, we've landed personally on just 100% raw diet for them.
Hmm.
And it has tremendously improved their stamina
Hmm.
and their just weight gain and healthy weight gain. Like
Yeah.
they were so scrawny and that just happens. Usually
Yeah.
you get judged with those breeds for a while that you're maybe malnourishing them because they
Yeah.
just are so thin.
Belts. Yeah.
Um, but they filled out really nicely and they have been at a really great manageable weight with the mileage that they're at.
Cool.
So we just make sure lots of fluids and then I do supplement. So with the raw diet, that is like an 80-10-10, meaning it's meat, bone, and organs. So it gives them a nice rounded diet, but we do supplement additionally to help them with just nutrition and their treats. One of their favorite treats is carrot sticks, believe it
Oh
or
yeah.
not. And
My
so
dog loves those.
and so like just the silliest things, but like fresh vegetables is so
Hmm.
they love fresh vegetables. Green
Yeah.
beans.
The
I
crunch.
mean,
They love it.
so yeah, we give them lots of treats too in
Yeah.
between, but on runs generally it's just water.
Yeah.
Mhm. Nice. And then we mentioned heat. So, when we were out west, again, bad dog owner, I didn't think about how hot the ground was. We were just actually walking into a restaurant was the plan. So it was just across the parking lot. So we weren't on it very long, but somebody lectured me. And so we ended up getting some little booties when we were out west too for the heat, because it was really hot. I can't remember where we were at, but it was definitely a hot spot, So have you had to do it for heat too? Probably not so much in Minnesota or
Yeah, we do spend a fair amount of time on some paved trails and routes. And so, yes, we do have to be cognizant of the time of day and that heat temperature with their paw
Mhm.
pads.
Yeah.
I love squirrel's nut butter, believe it or not.
Mm.
So, like, yeah, put some of that on the bottom of their pads. It does help create a bit of a barrier
Hmm.
and it keeps them from feeling so hot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But again, I think with the Vishlas and our two girls, frankly, they, as long as they're moving,
Yeah,
it's
that's good.
definitely less noticeable than if, say, you were standing on a like tarred surface at a trailhead
Right.
Yeah.
where maybe it was super hot and sunny and they spent a little bit more time just, stationary on their paws. That definitely can make it, I think, probably worse too. But
Yeah.
Right.
yes, squirrel's nut butter. I'm telling you, if you have it already, why not use
Yeah,
it for your dogs too?
Yeah, that's
that's great. I'll have to
cool.
try that out.
Yeah, I think I had so many questions about you, but I think we answered a lot of them. Like, that's incredible. Like, I love to hear about dogs that love to run. And like, I just think it's such a fun thing because we have such a passion for both of these things. Like, all of us love dogs and all of us love running. So to be able to do it in your daily life, like, I know you don't take advantage of it or take that for granted, but there's so many people that can't do that based on breed or circumstances and whatever. But that's such a gift that you are able to actually run with them and they enjoy it and everything's smooth. Like, I'm so jealous that you have these two little Vishlas. They're so cute.
They are. I
Are
was
they
hoping
there so
that
we can
they'd.
see them?
I know. I was hoping I could.
I was gonna
Let me
say if
see.
I could get Zuki, but I
They're
don't know.
napping. They're napping at
Oh,
my feet because, like a true Vizsla, they are Velcro dogs, and they
I love
literally
it.
like to be touching me 100% of the
I love
time.
it so much.
So let me
So
see if I can
cute.
grab one of them. Oh, she's napping. She doesn't
Let's
want to be
see.
grabbed.
She's like, I don't want to get up. Oh, there's Zuki.
There's
Hi, Zuki.
Zuki.
Look how cute she is.
Look
Stop
how big
it.
she is. Now the
She's
other day we
massive. Oh my gosh.
And here's
look at
Indy.
Zuki.
Hi,
There's your
Andy.
little
You look
puppy.
sleepy. Oh my gosh. Look at these two babies.
Yeah.
Oh, I
The
can't
other
handle
day we
She's
were
like, "Why
running.
are you picking me up right now, Mom?
Yeah,
I
and
don't
so she was like, I was
understand."
taking a nap. The other day we were running and it was cold and she hasn't done this since she was a tiny puppy, but she was really just started like jumping up on me and I'm like, what is going
And
wrong?
then
And I think it
here's
was
Coda.
Hi,
aw.
Coda. Hi, sleepy baby. Their coloring is just so beautiful. Oh my
Yeah, it's probably
goodness.
hard to tell them apart too. They've got so many characteristics that, of course, look the same, but we can tell them very well apart. They
And
just have
personality.
little subtleties. One has more perky ears, the other one likes them more softer. It's the little tiny things. I think it's how a parent would probably feel if they had twin
Twins.
children.
Yeah. I
That's
love it.
great. So I
Thank you
guess
so
one
much
last
for
question for
sharing
me.
that.
Did you
Yeah.
do any kind of obedience training or did you teach them yourself?
I taught them all myself. So back in the day, like I mentioned with my previous two pets or dogs, I had done a lot of obedience training classes with them and actually had gotten our Rottweiler lab certified to be a support dog.
Hmm.
And so with that, and then we did clicker training, which was
Mhm.
like a really great kind
Yes.
of training. We did not do clicker training with these two. They're just so smart
Yeah.
and they were so quick to catch on. So I've done all the training with them. So
That's
it's been
awesome.
a little bit of a trial and error and lessons learned for myself, right? Because I
Mhm.
think that dogs keep you honest when you're training and, highlight the things that you maybe aren't so great at recognizing when
Yeah.
you are doing the training. So that's been really a fun learning curve for myself and
Yeah.
really just molding it to fit
Mhm.
the two girls and like what works for us too
Right.
with
Right.
commands with what we need to focus on,
Yeah.
which is why I say the recall is maybe not great because admittedly I usually just let them run, so I'm like I don't really work a lot on the recall.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we've been going through obedience school training, which is my first. I'm probably the one that's not as good at it as she is, but learning all of the things and probably the thing I've learned the most is I'm not firm enough, I guess. And I'm supposed to use my mom voice, and my mom voice is too soft. But oh, and I reward too soon. But learning all those things has really helped us. But again, recall is tricky for us. And Zuki loves to go out in our yard. We have a well, my husband is even like pl or sort of shoveled like a circle around our ponds through the
Yeah.
woods, and so she does like fast loops around
Oh
there.
my
Loves
God.
it, but doesn't really love to be caught to come back in. But we have been working a lot on touch, and that has helped tremendously, although she
Yeah.
always looks a little suspicious when I say, okay, touch, like what are you gonna do? I'm not sure if I should come for you or not.
Yeah. I love
But
that.
That's
we
funny.
our training that we're doing is out in the community now. So we went to Lowe's the other day and I was able to put her in a stay position and I ran away
I
from her
saw that. So
across
cute.
the, like a long aisle and then had her come and she did it. I was so proud of her because that's a
Yeah.
long ways and it's especially adding in the running away, not just walking away from her,
Yeah.
for her to be able to stay. So baby
Very cool.
steps.
Yeah,
I
and
love
that's
that.
great. I love that you did that and took her to the business because there's actually more businesses out there that allow
Yes.
pets in their business
Mhm.
than you recognize or
Yeah.
realize. I think
Yes.
Lowe's is one of them, but also like Ace Hardware. I don't know
Yes.
how national
Suki has
Ace
went
is,
to
but
Ace Hardware since she was a
yeah.
baby. She loves that
Yeah.
place.
And I say if you live closer to like a community, a city, a town or whatever, if
Yeah.
you can't get out on like trails and get your dog necessarily, just on one kind of scenery path, I think those kinds of experiences are really great too. Like
Yeah.
our
Stimulating.
two yeah, our two girls go with us to all the race events that I participate in, so they're familiar with lots of stimulus, lots of chaos, lots of, crowds and groups. I think just the more exposure to any of those, they're going
It's
to be
better.
better at like listening and responding to
Right.
commands and cues and such too.
Oh, I think
Yeah.
so too. Because what I find is Zuki does really well within our home, but then when we
Mhm.
get out, I say that she's a little ADHD. There's like just so much going on. She can't focus on what's happening. And so, just getting that, adding that extra stimulus
It's
levels
helpful.
up, and then she has to
Yeah.
practice that skill. And the first time we went into the store and with a group of other dogs, she was so excited. It was like, I'm going in here with all my friends. This is the best day ever, Mom. Let's go.
And now here in LA, dogs are like, I don't know if it's allowed or not, but dogs are everywhere. Inside restaurants, outside, like it's just a dog place. So it is kind of fun. Like I remember when I had my dog, like every day we couldn't run, obviously, because that pit side would take over, but I would take her out into the public and like go eat at a restaurant with her or whatever. And it's so just watching them be stimulated by other things is so much fun. Like I don't have kids, and I think that that's kind of like you feel like so motherly and like so
Yeah.
nurturing towards your dogs as well. I think it's such a beautiful thing.
I feel like out west is a little bit more accepting of dogs than
Hmm.
the Midwest, but it's starting to change a little bit. What,
Good. I
what do
hope
you, what's your
so.
experience, Wendy? Wendy, about
You
that?
know, I've had pretty good experiences. I mean, everything from like local restaurants who have like outdoor patio seating
Yes.
Hmm.
to, breweries, though we don't go to them, to just, yeah, there's definitely more pet friendly places
Mhm.
I'm seeing more and more as
I think
time
so too.
persists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
coming more and more.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
like our local Walmart will so we went and took the dogs into the local Walmart to
I
pick out
love
like their own toys and their, they went and put their head in each of the bins. They wanted something, they grabbed. It's like, okay, that's what we're going home with.
it. Yep.
So it just
Cool.
was, I mean, kind of great. Just the little exposure and experiences again. We definitely more frequent those places to be
Right.
fair, because
Right.
if you have the dogs, why
It's
not make
easier
it,
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. Well, it was a fun conversation
Yeah.
about all things dogs. I'm so glad to get
Yeah, thanks
together
for
and
having
do this.
me.
So
Yeah.
fun.
And of
Yeah.
course, yeah, I have so much more that I probably should cover and maybe highlight on my Instagram. I maybe should just align my handle better to Indie Coda too. It's Indie Coda Vishla with like
Hmm.
underscores, and it's always hard to like share
Yeah.
handles like that.
You should do
But
like a Q&A question box for people that have questions about dog running, and then you can
Mhm.
kind of answer it on a live or whatever, or
would
just
love
individually.
that.
Yeah, I think so many
Yeah.
people have a ton of questions and how to start and all of that.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Happy to help support anyone, even if they've got a more older dog too. I
Yeah.
don't think that you could just like people like
Yeah.
Right.
it's never too late to start. I mean, if your dog naturally loves to be active and moving, it's
Yeah.
whether they're 3 or 7. I think there's beauty in being able to capitalize in that and sharing that together.
Right. And you know what? It also just kind of keeps you more active, right? By
Yeah.
having a
Hmm.
dog, because you have to go out to walk it, to go to the bathroom or whatever. I feel like I get way more steps in my
Yeah.
day, with a dog. And it's so exciting when I put my running shoes on and I have somebody that's excited about me going for a run because she's like, whoa, what's
Absolutely.
happening?
Yeah, my girls know the second my run gear starts getting pulled or shoes come out from the closet, they are right there ready to go.
Yes.
And honestly, yeah, like I said, there's no run days off with Avishla. And so
Yeah.
it gives me the motivation to say, well, I'm not doing this just for myself. I'm doing it for them
Exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're lacking motivation, like they're there. They're there to say, let's go.
I love it. Very cool.
All right. Well, it was great chatting with you both. Thank you so much and have
Yeah.
a great day.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.